Randy Scott. I'm the comics guy here at Michigan State University. The comics collection has been around since 1970, but it's been growing like crazy so that we're up from 6,000 back then to maybe 240,000 now. So let's take a quick walkthrough. I'd like to show you some of the very oldest comics we have, done by a Swiss guy named Rudolf Tupfer in the 1830s, right down this aisle. Of course I can't find him now. Back up. And here's a comic from the early 1800s. This is a late 1800s binding, but this is what it looked like when it was published during the lifetime of Rudolf Tupfer. And he's credited with, by a lot of people, mostly Europeans, as being the first guy to get the idea of telling stories serious, quote unquote, because they're all funny, in mainly picture-driven format. And we're just lucky to have a nice set of those. But we also have more normal stuff. Let me turn right here to something more normal. This is a historical comic from Japan. And I believe it's a history of China. In 60 volumes. Here they are. Nobody's come in to read them yet. This is your opportunity. Here's a bunch of Chinese literature in comics format.
Does the collection specialize in anything in particular? American comics, European comics, any particular genre?
We started out as an American superhero collection, but that soon became like too easy. And so right now the goal is to try to get every American comic book. And the lights go off in 120 seconds. That's to keep the paper from being degraded by extra light shining on it. Get every American comic book plus substantial samples of the world's comics. And by substantial, I mean any country that has a real tradition of comics. We want 1,000 titles. And we have most European countries covered that way, plus Mexico and Japan. But we're still pushing into the rest of Asia and Latin America, and of course Africa is just where we're just starting. So we may not even be able to get 1,000 titles from most countries in Africa, but we'll settle for 100.
So when did you start working at the collection, Randy?
I started actually working on it every day in 1974, sometime in July.
And how many titles did they have here when you started?
We had 6,000 physical items and a lot fewer titles because there were a lot of them were long runs. Basically, Professor Russell Nye, who was an English professor at the time, had caused a couple of his students to donate their comics after they graduated, and that came 2 sets of superhero comics, mostly from the late 60s. In 1970, that was what collectors were collecting. And so we had 6,000 comics, of which there were 2 copies of almost everything. At this point, and we still keep 2 copies of everything. That's partly because there might be a coupon clipped out or something. Here, I wanted to show you how a typical comic book is kept. There are these Mylar envelopes, which are inert kind of plastic, standing upright in order from left to right. When somebody asks for Bugs Bunny number 151, we don't have to disturb the rest of it. We just pull it out and take it to the reading room. That's how it works. People have to ask for individual things. And these are shelved this way rather than in stacks or rather than in covered boxes so that we can get them quickly with one hand if possible. And that works for all 200,000 American comics. These Archie digests. We have every corner covered, I think. We have 500 or 600 underground comics from the 1960s. few thousand 1980s black and white comics in the black and white explosion kind of genre. But we also have a few thousand mini comics in what is generally called the New Wave, which of course includes artist jams and 24-hour comics and things like that. Promoting the individual's ability to create comics, kind of comics. That's New Wave. The next step is alternative, which other people are also calling graphic novels, and we're collecting those like crazy too. They don't make much of a visual show when you open these shelves, but let me open that whole shelf here. It's fun to watch them open. I just pushed the shelf for French bande dessinée. So you'll see here, maybe 15,000 French comics. Look a lot different than our comics. The Beast is Dead. Important early post-war British comic. British, what am I talking about? French comic. In a slightly conservative style, they didn't use word balloons at this point. Often been compared to Mouse. It tells the story of World War II in animals. And we have that in English too, of course. We try to collect everything in English if we can, and also, if possible, in the original language. Any questions?
Not yet. Just sort of enjoying the tour. You have a back room where you keep some more stuff, don't you? Can you? I was hoping maybe eventually you could show us around the whole place.
Here's British comics we're walking by now. If you like Judge Dredd, we have a nice set of 2000 AD, not a complete set, but lots of issues. Tons of Andy Cap. Oh, and here's Canada. Cerebus. Not complete, but getting there. There's more coming in every month or so. And they're mostly donations. People are deciding to give up on their collections and giving them to us, and we just have sticky fingers that way. We try to keep 2 copies of everything. Thinking that someday there'll be a dissertation on that. The back room is this one. Also in this collection we have a general popular culture collection that's got popular fiction, science fiction specifically, westerns, harlequin romances, mysteries, some pornography, although it's mostly gay or lesbian content fiction, and that includes a bunch of pornography. Oh, here's the back room. This is Angela. She's sorting comics. She does this because she likes to. We're on video here.
I know.
Angela has just finished the second sort of a new donation of British comics. These are British weeklies. And we're just getting ready to send the rest of them up to have their acid-free call number tags typed. Preparatory to putting them on the shelf. The other problem is there's no room on the shelf where these are going to go. It's like 3 big shelves of British comics.
So what do you do when there's no room left on the shelf to house all this stuff that you keep getting?
It's an ad hoc procedure. You see these shelves down back here. One of them is empty. And up there I have 3 sets of shelves that are appropriate for comics. I'm going to move all the boxes from there back to there, and move all the Japanese comics to there, and then move the French comics so that there'll be room for the British comics. That'll take about a month. But it's a good problem to have.
Wow.
While we're at it, I just got a similar quantity of Argentine comics. There's no space for them either, so during that shift I'll have to leave 2 shelves for Argentine comics.
Wow. Does the collection have any plans of expansion to house all this stuff that you keep getting?
Well, I can plan all I want, but it's up to the board of trustees.
Huh. Interesting.
No, it's a chronic problem, and it's almost a joke to say it's an ad hoc move, but it's the best we can do. We've been doing it for decades now.
Great. Well, thank you so much for giving us a tour of this place. This is, I know it's something that not everybody gets to see, so I'm hoping to share it with more people. You've got a great place here.
Very cool.
Thank you.